thoughtful solutions. We need to make sure that we invite labor to the table, that we invite management to the table, that we invite the government organizations to the table, so that we work out something that we can afford and that works for our employees so that they can achieve their personal goals while we achieve the goals of our government.
Any follow-up? Okay, let's move on to Ms. Blasey. Start with Mr. Lewis this time.
The Chamber of Commerce continues to hear from some of its members here in Mesa that excessive regulation from various levels of government inhibit business and increase the cost of doing business. Do you see any regulatory areas that are problematic for businesses?
Well, it takes a real good regulation to be better than no regulation at all. We have got to get out of the way of business. Business will do just fine, and for the most part, the free market will take care of a lot of the practices that we would otherwise try to regulate. We need to help businesses succeed. We need to give them the tools they need to be successful in their goals and objectives. Yes, sometimes we do need regulations, but we need to make sure that those regulations are not the top item on their expense statement.
Senator Pearce.
Thank you for that question. Let me tell you, you want to create an environment conducive to productivity. What you have to do is lower the tax burden and the regulatory burden on businesses. And what's going on in this state, there's a recent report out of Washington, more recent, about 2000, that shows the cost of regulation is almost $1 trillion a year to the consumer. We're out of control with regulation. We in Arizona have started a regulatory commission to look at excessive regulation to eliminate that unnecessary, burdensome, and egregious regulation that is the impediment to business in the state of Arizona. The other things we're doing also, when you talk about regulatory reform, which is a huge issue, and we moved from progressive, had a moratorium for the last 2 years, a bill that I sponsored and working with the government, also tax reform. You know, and again, Arizona, I was one of the champions of the Arizona tax jobs package this last year, the largest tax decrease in job bill in the history of the state of Arizona, to make sure that we start growing jobs. You want to grow the economy, you want to get out of this recession, you've got to put Arizona back to work. You do that by providing incentives for private business, not government jobs, private sector jobs. Let them grow, let them flourish, get the government out of the way.
Having the state get out of the way of business and regulatory mandates is, in and itself, is a good thing. But can you get a little more specific? Where are some places where we need to actually get the state out of the way of business?
Well, again, let's look at the logging industry for an example. Look what the regulations of the logging industry did to Arizona. It took away a lot of jobs. It created an ecological nightmare, and now we're having forest fires every year. We need to look at every single industry and determine what are our priorities with regards to this industry. I've been in business for 30 years. I've never seen a bureaucrat, a government bureaucrat, create any jobs. Jobs come from businesses that have the freedom, without regulation, necessary regulation, to move about. We need to work with we need to listen to business leaders and find out what regulations really are not necessary, and listen to the government officials as well to figure out, well, what regulations really are. We need to bring everybody together again and listen to what everybody is saying.
Senator Pearce.
Thank you. Again, we've got examples all over Arizona when you talk about the environmental regulation on the timber. We've got millions of growing timber up in northern Arizona that we're not able to move out properly. You've got China and other countries in Japan begging for them as an export. Good for our economy, good for them. And yet the environmentalists have sued and played games, almost impossible to move that stuff out. The mining industry is struggling right now because of all the environmental impediments to opening a mine, creating hundreds and hundreds of jobs, such as potash up in northern Arizona. You know, and that's exactly the challenge we have. Let me tell you, Arizona is growing. We're doing some good things. One of the things we're doing, we're just starting out, we have Intel's going to invest $5 billion in the East Valley. Thousands of construction jobs overnight almost. You've got Boeing that's growing. You've got the largest solar company in the United States going out in the Gateway community out there, Williams Gateway. and it's going to create thousands of jobs. It starts off small and grow. Those are the things we've been working on to bring to Arizona. Jobs, grow the economy, get the environmentalists out of the way, and let jobs move forward without all the financial impediments, the inability to open the doors to provide jobs for Arizona.
Thanks. Ms. Blazes, could you move to our next question? Are we on you? Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Roth, excuse me, I lost track.
Last year, the legislature considered at least one bill that would have required certain Arizona cities to engage in open bidding with the objective of privatizing more government functions and cutting costs. Governor Brewer ultimately vetoed the measure, claiming it constituted excessive state regulation of local issues. What is the proper relationship between state and local governments?
We'll start with Senator Pearce.
First of all, the proper relationship, all those cities and counties are political subdivisions of the state. We have a lot of state law that applies to everybody equal, fairly. Same, all that bill did, and that was Senate Bill 1325, I think you mentioned that, right, or 1398. Anyway, what that bill did simply allow for them to compete. Didn't say they had to contract out anything, but provide a competitive process. I'm a real privatization kind of guy. I believe that the phone book has a company that does that job. I don't think government ought to be in competition with it. So anytime you can move something from the public sector to the private sector, it's a win-win deal. It takes 4 to 5 private sector jobs to maintain every single public sector job. So privatization is good for taxpayers, good for business, good for everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis.
Thanks, I would agree with that. There is a sentiment that government has to be doing everything. And as we look at the history of our nation, as we've gotten more government into jobs and businesses that business have done well, we see that we fail miserably. There are some jobs that only government can do, okay, like defend our nation, our nation's borders and so forth. But most of the jobs that are typically done by the federal government, in some cases our state government, can best be done by those who have the entrepreneurial spirit, who understand what it takes to balance a budget and know that they have to cut a profit. We need to get more privatization of our services where we possibly can. And again, we need to listen to all parties to make sure that we do the right thing at the right time.
Any follow-up? Mr. Crawford.
Yeah, I was wondering if each of you could provide a little more detail. Could you name some specific contracts or size of contracts that you think should be required to be put up to bid?
Well, again, what that bill did, and again, it was modified as every bill that goes through this debate and gets amended, that bill simply provided an incentive, and it was whittled way down. I think it only applied to those jobs that were hundreds of thousands of dollars, the bigger jobs at first. It started out very small, but they moved, I can't remember where the numbers at. But the point is, what it did is that you need to compete then. If there's a business out there that does that job, then you need to put it out for bid. 570 under his regime did the very same thing, where in one of the state laws requires you must meet or exceed this standard. Meet or exceed at an equal or better price. The safeguards are put into place to make sure the taxpayer is the one who benefits the most. We're not here to bail out government. We're here to work for the taxpayer who pays the bills and make sure what we're doing is in their best interest. And again, that bill would have moved things, I believe, in the right direction. Again, I thought it was a good bill, and it provided an incentive to see who's out there willing to do those jobs and how much of a better deal they can give the taxpayer in doing them.
Mr. Lewis.
To answer this question, do we need a government organization to determine how to market Arizona? I would probably think that businesses that market on a regular basis would do a much better job of that in connection with Arizona to get the word out that we're still a great state, where the 5 C's are still very much alive here in Mesa and in Arizona. And right now we have the tourism industry that will typically return 600% to 800% for every dollar that they receive. We need to focus more on programs that will return revenue to us and not take dollars away from us and be an expense to us and a burden on us.
Thanks. Let's do a follow-up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I have one other follow-up. Bottom line, is it fair for the state to force privatization on cities that have their own elected leaders?
They're all constituents, and they're all citizens and taxpayers of the state of Arizona to provide the right incentives. And again, our political subdivision. If people understand the relationship, and again, I don't want to give a big constitutional lecture here, But all the powers with the states. The state is what's under the Constitution. All the political subdivisions are political subdivisions. They are under the state. The powers granted to those come from state statute. It's the state that decided what they can and can't do. It's appropriate for the state to decide, continue to decide what they can and can't do, and provide